Good morning, good afternoon, whenever it is you're watching this. I just want to make a quick video going over a couple of questions that I've had asked and a couple of things that came out from that quiz that I just want to kind of make sure that I'm covering before we move on to anything after the February break, any kind of new things on vectors. So the first one is kind of these questions coming up. It was task 2, part B. I was asked a couple of this in the live Google Meet that happens on Tuesday. Just on that, guys, you will continue. So the live Google Meets will be split up. So you guys will have one on Tuesday of every week. It will be the normal kind of period 3 timing. So that's at 10 past 10 till 11 o'clock. I will be hosting a Google Meet live for you guys and for the set above us and below us, so sets 1 and sets 3. A few of you guys have been coming along and asking questions, which is absolutely brilliant. So if any of you have any questions on that, please make sure you're coming along and asking them. We'll be focusing on a few other things as well. So it will mainly be revision stuff and just kind of looking ahead for whatever might be coming after February break and after Easter. But this video is just mainly focusing on the work from this week. The bit I want to focus on is this word resultant. Okay, and it wasn't one that I used in the videos. Resultant essentially just means what happens. And it usually means what happens after you carry out your calculation. So the resultant vectors is what happens when you add those together. Okay, what happens when you add those together? It might not be an add, sometimes it will be a minus. So it might be a minus there, and it's the resultant vectors is what happens after you subtract those. That's the resultant vector. Okay, so that's what the word resultant means. And it's one that we only really use in vectors, kind of a vector terminology. So let's pick one with integers. The other clue that comes from this question is the fact that it says leave your answer as a surd in its simplest form. So there's an idea that it's a non-calculator question. So I'm going to do part C, and I'm going to look at something from the quiz. So part C, I need to do 4 and -6, and I'm going to be adding -5 and 7. I think I've just realized I probably picked 2 nicer values for this. So 4 add -5 is going to be -1. -6 add 7 is 1. Now, it's asking for the magnitude of the resultant vector. So it's the magnitude of this vector here. It's the magnitude of your answer. So essentially, you're looking to find the magnitude of this value. So the magnitude, and I'm just going to write magnitude purely because it's not giving me letters to refer to as. So the magnitude is going to be the square root of -1 squared plus 1 squared, which is going to be the square root of 1 add 1, which is the square root of 2. And that is the surd in its simplest form. 9, I'm trying to think, is there going to be one that's going to have nice values? 81 to 85 isn't going to. Apologies, I don't think many of these are actually going to end up simplifying. But that's essentially it. Okay. I know this one doesn't simplify. That'll be 1 and 11, which will be 1, 2, 2. That one's not going to simplify either. That is essentially the main thing, and I think the difficulty was that word resultant. Okay, but in these, sorry, I don't know why it's kicking back up. Add them together first, and then work out the magnitude of your answer. Now, the last thing is part of the quiz that I kind of wanted to go over. The exact wording of it was, oops, apologies, let me get back on the screen. You were given 2 vectors, and the vectors are called u and v. And vector u, or starts with v, so vector v was 5, 7, and vector u was the vector 4 and -3. Now we're excellent at drawing these independently. And the difficulty came when we were drawing. The question was asking us to drawing the resultant of v plus u. And to make it an actual question, it would be draw the resultant of v and u. And this was causing a little bit of confusion. And again, I think it's around this idea of resultant, okay? So we want to draw the resultant of v plus u. So what happens when we add v and u together? And now there's two ways you can do this, okay? We can do it by graphs, okay? So we can draw v, which is 5, 7. Now I'm going to need to give myself quite a bit of space for this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it'll be quite big actually. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do 5, 7. So I'm going to go 5 along. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and even one higher than that. 7's up there. So there's my vector v, and I know that that's the vector v because it's going 5 along and 7 up. So that is the vector v. Now, if you're drawing the resultant of the vector v and u, you start drawing u from where you finished your last vector. So the vector u is 4 along and 3 down. And I start from here. So I go 4 along, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go 3 down. 1, 2, 3. And so my vector u, I draw there. And so that's u, and I'm heading in that direction. Now the resultant vector is from your very start point to your very finish point. So I'm going to use a different color for this. So I'm going to go from here to here. And that is the resultant of v plus u. Because you've headed in a positive v direction and then in a positive u direction. Now I just want to show you this in a different way, because there's a couple of ways that you could work out what that vector is. I can see here by counting it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the x direction. And I can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the y direction. So the vector is 9, 4. Now let's have a look at these two vectors again. If I was to do v plus u, well, v is the vector 5, 7. And u is the vector 4, minus 3. Again, let's just double check. 5, 7, 4, minus 3. If I add these together, I get 9 and 4. So adding them together and drawing them out, I'm getting the exact same vector, 9, 4. Okay, so I think that the slight confusion is in that video, I didn't have an example of where we call it top and tailing. So the tail of this vector, so the bit kind of at the bottom of it, so the bit kind of where it's not pointing, that's the bottom of the vector, is at the top of the previous one. Okay, so you draw your v first, and wherever you finish, you draw the next one. It's called top and tailing. Okay, so there were kind of two ways to do that question. As I say, the rest of it was done really well. I just wanted to take this minute to go over a couple of questions I had, and also importantly to try and pick up this little thing here. As I say, you guys are going to get your live meet. It'll always be like Tuesday. That's because you are always in maths on a Tuesday, week 1 and week 2. It'd be great to see as many of you as possible. Please come along with your questions on any topics. For example, last week we recapped some of the scatter graphs things, and we recapped some trig graphs. If you don't want to ask a question live, you guys can comment to me during the assignment, and I will have that question ready to go over in the live meet. It can sometimes be a little bit easier for that interaction, for kind of asking questions. But by all means, you can submit questions earlier that you want to go over, or if there's some bits, previous topics that you want in particular. Videos wise, most of them are online now, so you can use those YouTube videos as well. There were a few likes of the vector videos. I no doubt that was you guys. Thank you very much. As always, I hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe and enjoy the February break.